The Knuckles show is a very fun addition to the Sonic movie universe. It takes us along with Knuckles as he trains his apprentice Wade in the ways of the Echidna warrior. Amidst all the fun and somewhat bizarre humor, the Knuckles show comes together to tell a surprisingly emotional tale of family and what it means to have the heart of a warrior. Pairing the likes of Wade and Knuckles together makes for some downright hilarious moments throughout the show, as one would come to expect given the prior movies. However, what really caught me off guard was the emotional bond that these two characters would end up sharing throughout their adventure. After the events of Sonic 2, we catch up with both characters who are finding themselves somewhat unfulfilled with life, as if each is missing something within. The lull between Sonic Movie 2 and 3 is the perfect time to flesh out these characters, as both have a lot of room for growing. In both Sonic movies, Wade has been a character who has been looked down upon by pretty much everyone he encounters. He is, after all, a bit daft and oftentimes simple-minded. Flaws aside though, Wade has always been portrayed as someone who wants to do what's right by helping others, even if he ends up failing. Wade wants desperately to prove himself more capable than anyone gives him credit for. Knuckles, likewise, now faces his own challenges, tackling the dilemma of learning what it means to be family. Having no family of his own for so long, Knuckles has grown accustomed to being on his own and traveling from world to world, looking out for only himself. So integrating to the ways of Earth with his new family of Sonic, Tom, Maddie, and Tails has been quite the challenge for him. In many ways, Knuckles feels like a fish out of water and without purpose now that he has possession of the Master Emerald. As Knuckles would call out to the Echidna elders for guidance, both he and Wade would be set on a path that would change them forever. I've always found Sonic characters interesting to dig into, as there's usually an underlying tragedy that serves as a catalyst to their actions. Much like Belle the Tinkerer from the IDW comics, Wade faces unresolved issues with his father. In Wade's case, his father had abandoned him and his family while Wade was still young. This event in Wade's life serves as an explanation for numerous things. Firstly, Wade reveals to Knuckles that this is why he enjoys bowling so much. It's a bond that he shared with his father, and it reminds him of happier times. Being so young when his father left, all Wade can remember or really think about was the fun that he shared with his dad, and he seeks to reclaim that feeling of joy. But what Wade doesn't realize is that his father's selfishness broke apart his family, leaving them on hard times. When you're young and witnessing your family break apart, it's truly hard to grasp what is going on. This also gives us a better understanding as to why Wade acts like a child still, despite the fact that he's a grown man. As a child processing his father abandoning him, Wade's emotional maturity has been stunted. Our minds react differently to tragic events, and for Wade, he's used a childlike joy and wonder in order to cope with an event that he still hasn't gotten over. Wade's father being absent in his life gives something for Knuckles to relate to, furthering their bond as friends. While Knuckles' father was killed in battle while fighting the Owl Tribe, Knuckles still understands what it's like to grow up without a father figure in your life. This is the glue that these two needed, because by all intensive purposes, these characters are quite different from each other. One is a warrior from another planet who is very serious, while the other is a small-town cop who is quite goofy. But the bonds of family have opened a doorway for these characters to relate more to each other. When Wade reveals this about his father, it becomes a surprisingly emotional scene between the two characters, and it's rather sweet that Wade wants to share something that's so important to him and his relationship with his father to Knuckles. Hearing about Wade's father leaving him struck a chord with Knuckles. In the Sonic movie sequel, we see just how honor-bound Knuckles is, going to great lengths to work alongside Robotnik because he believed in integrity. Of course, this led to a betrayal that hurt Knuckles deeply, and in the show he talks about how time and time again on his journey for the Master Emerald, he's been betrayed. Knuckles realizes that what Wade's father did was a betrayal of its own making, and to that sentiment, Knuckles found himself relating even more to Wade, especially after Wade made it clear that unlike his father, he would never betray a friend. This display of honor begins to make Knuckles see the potential that his chief saw. When Chief Pachacamac wanted Knuckles to train Wade, he didn't really understand why. By all means, Wade didn't have the makings of a warrior. But as Knuckles begins to connect with Wade, he starts to understand how big Wade's heart is and the honor that he shows those around him, despite them not showing him the same respect. Knowing that his heart is in the right place, Knuckles knows now Wade has the makings of a warrior, but still has a long way till he blossoms. Halfway through the series, we find Wade reuniting with his family as he and Knuckles are on the run. His mother right away points out the exact time since they last saw each other, totaling over 2 years. Wade's mother clearly loves him and wants him in her life, yet it's been several years since they last saw each other. Meanwhile, all Wade has been thinking about is seeing his father, who, from an outsider's perspective, clearly doesn't care about Wade. Wade looks up to his father and still considers him to be family despite their estrangement. However, Wendy and Knuckles seem to know better. If Wade's father could leave his entire family behind without a second thought, then he isn't really family. Flesh and blood aren't necessarily what forms the bond of family. No, it's much more than that. It's a shared care, love, and commitment to look out for their best interests. Wade is too blinded by the past and dealing with the hurt of abandonment to realize what his father had put his mother through. One of the more powerful scenes throughout the show is one that Wendy shares with Knuckles. The two are enjoying each other's company while watching a movie, and Knuckles questions why the Whipple family doesn't do this anymore, since Wendy said that this was once a tradition for them. She tells Knuckles that with time, families drift apart, and you can see the pain of loneliness on her face. This is something that hits home the older you get. As time passes by and you get older and busier with life, it's easy to drift apart from those who love you and want your company. Sometimes you just have to take a moment and slow down and be there for them. Our time on this planet is short, and spending it with family who cares about you and loves you is valuable, even if it's something as simple as watching a movie with them. By spending time with Wendy, Knuckles begins to understand the family dynamics of the Whipple family and grows a great deal of respect for her. After losing his own family and trying to find his place in life on this new world, Knuckles begins to see the value of family once again after being disillusioned by the idea of it. This bond of family would only be strengthened after bounty hunters came to claim a bounty on Wade. The entirety of the Whipple family alongside Knuckles would come together to defend each other. This made Wendy happier than she had been in a long time. This was all she ever wanted, her family coming together to spend time with one another. They did not only that, but they also showed how far they were willing to go to protect the ones that they love. Now that Knuckles has learned much about Wade and his family, the roles must reverse, and Wade must learn about Knuckles. This episode ended up being one of my favorites due to the unique nature of its presentation. During a musical number, Wade would learn the past of his new friend Knuckles, and come to discover how he had lost everything he knew, including his home, tribe, and family. However, none of this stopped or discouraged Knuckles from becoming a warrior like his father before him. On his quest, Knuckles would be outmatched when facing the overwhelming power of Iblis. But Knuckles had something that Iblis didn't. He had the heart of a warrior. His inner determination and drive was all that he needed to succeed. Having that willpower can push you to your limits if your heart is in the right place. A great example of this is when Buster Douglas took on heavyweight champion of the world Mike Tyson. By all means, this should have been a quick fight for the champ, but 23 days before the fight, Buster's mom passed away, and he had promised his mother that he would beat him. The emotions and drive to uphold a promise to his mother fueled his warrior's heart. Eventually, he would become the first person to defeat an opponent many thought was unbeatable. Fighting for something bigger than yourself, something that you're passionate about and care deeply for, can stoke a fire within you. By watching his friend Knuckles go through such tragedy and overcome it despite the fact that he was outmatched, was all that Wade needed to see in order to realize that the most important step to becoming a warrior comes from within. Towards the end of this adventure, Wade encounters his father, and both Wade and Knuckles are very excited about this reunion. For Wade, having his father back in his life brings back his childhood joy, remembering all the good moments that they shared together. In Wade's mind, he has something to prove to his father. He wants to show him how far he's come in life as a bowler and a man. But Wade has nothing to prove to the man who abandoned him, and his mother knows this better than anyone. She sees the glimmer of hope in Wade's eyes, hope that he can reconnect with the man he looked up to growing up, the man who eventually left him. She tries warning Wade, reminding him of the pain his father had caused their family. Wade is still longing for the love and approval of his father, when really he should be looking towards his mother. She was the one excited at his return home, always happy and willing to listen about his accomplishments in life. She did her best to raise him and his sister on her own. Her love of Wade has always been there. Wade just needs to face the hard truth that his father doesn't share that same parental parental love. Now, while this show had some weird moments along the way, the message of family and heart was one that ended up resonating with me. In the finale of the show, Wade would end up proving himself to be a true warrior by staying loyal to his friends and being there for his family. Likewise, Knuckles would find that his home is on Earth, because here, he has others who care about him, and he too has found himself caring for others. Together, the two heroes would come together and fight for those who they hold dear in their lives, and that is the beauty of this story. I would love to hear what you guys thought about the Knuckles show. I have something very special in the works right now that I'm excited to share with you all soon, so make sure to subscribe to keep up to date with all things Sonic, and as always, I wish you all the best, take care, peace.